Can I have everyone's attention? All right, good evening. I'm Martha Flores, president of our campus organization for Latino engagement, better known as OLE. It's my pleasure to introduce Mariela Dabbah, our keynote speaker for tonight's first annual Women's Leadership Summit. Ms. Dabbah graduated summa cum laude from the University of Buenos Aires, where she obtained a master's degree in philosophy and literature. She moved to the United States when she was 24. Tonight we honored Ms. Dabbah with Schreiner University's first annual award for outstanding contributions to women in society. It is my pleasure to present to you Mariela Dabbah.
Okay, so can you guys hear me? Yes. I'm going to use the mic, not because it's such a small group I'm going to need it, but because it's a very big space, and otherwise I'll be yelling. You don't want me to be yelling, and then I don't want to damage my voice either. So, how is everybody? It was awesome to meet some of you earlier and some of you at dinner. And I want to do like a little poll. This is for my own pleasure. How many of you are from outside of Texas? All right then. Where do you come from? Mediterranean? So you've been all over the place. Okay. Connecticut? California? Mexico. What else? That's it? Alright. And somebody else raised their hand. Sorry, I'm sorry, Ariel. Louisiana and Benito? No, okay. And I'm from Argentina, so I think I come from the farthest away. To Kerrville, Texas. So I'm really honored to be here with you today to speak about leadership and how your future is really defined today. And it's not going to be a one-sided conversation, so I hope, and I saw that you were very kind of engaged and talkative, so don't look shy on me now because I'm going to call out on you. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to know is what you would like to be recognized for. You got handed cards, right? Like note cards when you came in? No. Oops. My God, it's my fault. I don't want to point fingers here. So this is what you're going to do. Think about an award, like the one I got tonight, that he's talking in, then Dr. Yeah, but I wanted to pay attention to Dr. Sutherland. Okay, can you collect them in the back? Thank you. All right, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to think of an award that you would like to get, like the one I got tonight. What would you like to get that award for? What would you like to be recognized for? And what you're going to do, and I know you're very good at taking directions, is you're going to write down an award for whatever, being for discovering a cure to cancer. Some of you are into that. Whatever it is. And then you're going to put your name next to it, okay? And you need to use good handwriting. Okay? Once you write it down, fold your paper in two, and then you're going to put it in the bag that this gentleman here is going to be collecting them there. Okay? So take a minute to do that. Okay, you don't need to consult this. This is your own award. What do you want to be recognized for? Don't talk to your friends about it. Just write your name and give this to, what's your name? Charlie? Is it Charlie? Mark. Mark, sorry. Pass it over to Mark. You need to write your name next to what you want to be recognized for. Name and last name. Yeah, of course. It's going to and that you don't mind you get hit to be right at that. We fold them? Yes, fold them and give them to Mark. All right, are you done? Oh my God, how many awards do I get? Just one. Pick one. What do you want to be recognized for? Whenever? Now, in the future, after you finish college, after when you're ready to become a consultant because your career is over? Only if you were paying attention.
Mark?
Oh, sorry. They're all different colors, and I don't know who wrote in what color, so you're good. All right, anybody else? Here, raise your hand and you'll come. All right, so this is what I want us to talk about in the very beginning of this conversation. How much freedom do you, first of all, does anyone recognize that little cartoon? Do you guys know who she is? Okay, you see her bigger in another cartoon. No, she is like the Charlie Brown of Latin America. Like all of us who grew up in Latin America grew up with her. And some of you may have seen it growing up with your parents or grandparents or not. Doesn't matter. All right, so how much freedom do you think you have or do you feel you have to choose your future? Go ahead.
I feel like you have a lot of freedom because if you set your mind to it, then you will be able to achieve your dreams.
Okay, so you have a lot of freedom because if you put your mind to it, you'll be able to achieve your dreams. Okay, go ahead. Try to yell louder because otherwise the people up front don't hear.
I feel like although that's a great attitude to have, sometimes like situations come up, like, everyone starts off in different places, and so like some people are born, with more money than others, so they get these opportunities, and other people aren't, or they're born a certain race, and so they don't get the same opportunities in another race. And
Okay.
that's not necessarily bad, and I feel like you still have freedom to choose where you want to go.
Okay, did you guys hear her? No? Okay. So she said that even though that's a good attitude to have, sometimes because of the race or because of whether you have money or don't have money, you are afforded different opportunities. You still have the freedom to choose, but it might not be as free, is that what you're saying? Because there's some circumstances. Okay, what else? How free do you feel? Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to pass you my mic. Go ahead, somebody's passing your mic. Is it on? All right, let me pass you. Here.
I was going to say that sometimes we limit our freedom as we go through our careers or whatever we choose. So it's unlimited or limited. It just depends on the situation based on that.
Right, but how much freedom do you feel right now? Do you feel you're free to choose what you're going to do in your future? You do? Okay, great. So let's move on to, and here's a bigger picture of Mafalda. So her name is Mafalda, and the reason I chose this cartoon is because she's like a little smart cookie, and she is a cartoon from way back in the 70s, 80s, and she always told the truth, even in a situation where we lived under a dictatorship. It was very hard to get the truth out there. She always put herself in the middle and said whatever the truth. So she was a very powerful little 5-year-old who always talked like an adult, and I thought it's always useful to me to have her lead my presentations, given that I'm portraying the power of right to movement. We'll talk about it at the end. So predeterminations. Anybody has any clue what these are? And it's not, I'm not talking about the religious aspect of it. Yes, you do? Go ahead. We took a selfie together. All right, go ahead.
Want to pass this on?
I feel like predeterminations are like, for an example, when you grow up in a family of doctors. So then you assume you have to be a doctor, your family expects you to be a doctor, you're expected to follow this tradition that is set before you. So something like that.
Yep. Exactly like that. Great, exactly like that. So predeterminations are a group of beliefs and concepts and ideas that are decided for you before you're even born. So they can be ancestral, so they come from many generations. They can be, some of them are genetic, some of them come from society and from your family. So think about it. When you're born into a family of doctors, like she mentioned, are you in a family of doctors? No, okay, I am. So my father was already a surgeon and his father was a doctor, and my brother was the older in the family. When he was born, what was he supposed to be? Right. Now, I grew up, I told you, in Argentina. That's a very paternalistic family situation. It's a very macho environment. I'm the second born. Obviously, I'm in a professional family, so it's expected that I'm going to do what? Go to college, right? And it's a very macho society, so I'm the second. I'm a woman. What else is expected of me? Have a family, get married, all the traditional roles, correct? Yes, so you're on it. So those are predeterminations for me. But what was the predetermination in terms of where I was going to study? I wasn't expected to go to medicine. Nobody gave a damn about sorry, I can't say that word. Nobody cared about delete from the recording. Nobody cared about what I studied because I was a woman. So I was supposed to go to college and graduate, yes, but I was supposed to marry someone who was a professional and had money and was going to support me, and so nobody cared what I did professionally. So those are predeterminations. Before I'm even born, there are expectations my family had. So with that comes what religion you're born into, what socioeconomic level you're born into, what value system you're born into, right? And a lot of these expectations, and we share some of this today at noontime, are ancestral and multi-generational. Why? Because your grandparents wanted this for your mother and your father, they couldn't achieve it, and so now they're saying to you, I want you to have everything that I never had. I wanted to be able to achieve whatever I couldn't achieve. So what are they putting onto you? Those pressure, the predeterminations. So what happens is that all of these, they really are running in the background of your mind without you being aware of it. It becomes like your DJ, a background music that you're not aware of. And you start making a lot of decisions in your mind that, in your life, that you don't know where they come from, and they come from this training that you had without even knowing that you had it. So that's what I want you to keep an eye out. Why? Because as you're deciding what you do in your careers, as you're deciding what you do in your life, they're going to be playing a part. The more you know about it, the more you'll be able to stop and say, let me keep those predeterminations that work well for me and drop the ones that don't. So part of my predeterminations have to do with education. I come from a Jewish family where, I don't know if you know anything about Judaism, but the only thing you need to know is that because they've been persecuted for years and whatnot, the main value they instill in their families is, what are you doing here? Education. Because it's the only thing you can take with you no matter where you're persecuted to. So education was paramount and has been paramount in my family for generations, because that's the only thing you could take with you. You couldn't take the money, you couldn't take the jewels, you couldn't take your house, you could take your education anywhere, right? So do I want to get rid of that predetermination? No. So I'm not saying all predeterminations are bad or they're good or they're positive or negative. It depends on what you do with it. Okay? So some predeterminations that might work negatively for some people work very well for others. You just need to be aware so you can pick and choose. So these are some of the predeterminations that I'm generalizing here that are going to affect women. And many of these, we've seen them today at lunchtime, because they also affect Latinos. So if you're a Latino woman, it's going to hit you like a double whammy. And you need to be even more aware of them. So the first one, work hard and keep your head down. For women that grew up with, it's good to see, the women need to be seen but not heard. Or somebody gave us the message in Spanish today. What do they call it? Calladita te ves más bonita. When you're quiet, you look prettier. How horrible is that? So, but do you know what? That follows you because you go to work and you think that you need to work hard in your cubicle while the guys are networking. And they move on in their careers because people hire and promote people they like and they know and they trust. And if you're hiding in a corner working hard, making everybody else's work easier, but they don't know about it, they're going to promote the guy who's out there or the woman who's out there socializing and letting it know that it was her work that made everybody else's work easier. So work hard, keep your head down. It's a negative, could be a negative discrimination if you're not aware of it and use it. Be humble, and don't self-promote, same idea. And in our community and your community here, humbleness and humility are values that a lot of you learned from very, very, very young age, right? Now, in this society, you can be humble, but you need to learn to promote yourselves. You need to do it in an assertive way so that you come across as somebody who knows what she does and knows what she's talking about, and not like a used car salesman, right? But you still need to self-promote. And don't question authority. That's something else. When you grow up in a paternalistic environment, it's very difficult to question authority. So what does it mean? You go to work to whatever, a job, and you have a different idea from your boss. You disagree with your boss or with your professors, and you keep it to yourself because you feel it's going to be disrespectful to voice a different opinion. Well, guess what? If you want to stand out, if you want to be known for who you are, you're going to need to learn to voice a different opinion. Do it respectfully, but you need to be able to let your voice be heard. You can't stay quiet like a fly on the wall and think you're going to get opportunities. Nobody notices a fly on the wall. Just to swat it. That's what young is car for, right? Or needs for. So be aware that these are some of the predeterminations that affect you. And now we're getting into some of the others. Women and this doesn't matter whether you're Latina or Latina, this is in the world. I don't think there's a society so advanced already that with maybe the northern European countries, but women always are supposed to be the people in charge of family and home, to make it work well, to take care of the children and the scheduling, and that everything is, dinner is served and the house is clean. Even if you're working full-time and your spouse is also working full-time. No matter what, if you have children, this is even more so, you are the number one responsible for everything. Again, guess what? Your generation needs to change that. Because you guys are all going into the workforce, so how are you expected to do 2 full-time jobs? So my first advice to you in this department is engage your partners to be equal partners everywhere. And show them how beneficial it is for you to be equal partners, because you're much happier, you're both going to have a much better life together, the level of life that you're going to have is higher if you're making more money in your job and you're more satisfied in your job. And it's not only about the money, it's about how much satisfaction you're going to get, how much healthier you are when you're satisfied in your job, right? So you need to work together, and this whole presentation is for you to become aware of how do you work together with your partners and the people in your network to get where you want to get. This is another predetermination, and you think it's good. How many of you think that multitasking is good? All right, everybody else got embarrassed before I asked the question, so you didn't raise your hands. We are raised to think that we are Wonder Woman, that we can do everything. And I tell you, this a lot, in big part, this is the responsibility of other mothers who tend to raise boys and girls differently. And I present tons to adults, obviously, and women will confess to me, I'm going to tell you the truth. I tell my son that he should only go to school and not work, because he can do both. He needs to focus. But my daughter, she can do both. So I tell her to work and to go to school. Guess what? She's setting the daughter up to think that she can be Wonder Woman and do everything. And then we get bogged down by that, because once you are in the workforce, this other issue happens, that people think you can do everything. You can work full time, you can take care of the family, the children, the husband, your traveling schedule, his traveling schedule, the kids' soccer schedule. And it's like, and you think you're cool because you can do it. So I'm telling you right now, before we leave today, you're all gonna need your Wonder Woman and your Superwoman cape here. Okay, so we're gonna drop our capes. Because Wonder Woman really doesn't exist, it's dead, it's a myth. So don't moan, she's dead and you're free. I think you're still missing the point. All right. And this is another one of our predeterminations. We think of others before we think of ourselves. So we think of absolutely everybody in our families before we think of, look, I need to take some time off, I'm exhausted. I need a day to just do nothing. No, don't use my day that I do nothing to give me a list of things that I can do while I do nothing. It's my do nothing day, right? So, watch out for that. Watch out for that. Don't put yourself last. And this is another topic that is very intriguing and interesting for you to be aware of. Anybody knows what an external locus of control means? All right, I'll tell you. Here's my English accent. All right. She said that I had an accent like sounds like a British accent in Spanish, speaking English. I'm like, okay, it sounds very sophisticated. So, anyway, so this means that women tend to think that circumstances are much more fixed than they really are, so that you can change whatever is, because that's the way it is. So I'll give you a very clear example. One of our Red Shoe Movement ambassadors, she's 20 years old, she finished college in 2.5 years, full ride, comes from Lebanon, has been in this country for 2.5 years, and just aced it. She's absolutely brilliant, right? So she doesn't lack brains. She got an internship at an investment bank right after she finished school. And now she's working at GE Capital, making $80,000 a year at 20 years old. Okay? So when she was in her internship, she said to me, I'm the one that's great. When I first met her, she had been in New York for 2 weeks. And I met her at, TED? So I met her at a TED event. And I was, struck by her being so eloquent. Somebody says it for me, eloquent? Eloquent. Being so eloquent and unlikely. And so I approached her to find out. And she told me, I've been in here for 2 weeks. And I'm like, you kidding me? You speak like a New Yorker already. And so I said, what do you want to do with your life when you grow up? I want to be president of Lebanon. Dead serious, right? I'm here to get my experience, and I'm going back, I'm going to be president of Lebanon. Because if I don't change things there, who is? So there's a leader for you. She got it, right? So, but now here's the kicker, because we gotta watch out for these things. So she gets her first internship, and she tells me, I'm the one that brings all the business into our group. I'm the one that's making millions of dollars to my company where I'm interning, and she was getting paid for the internship. So I said, so why don't you ask for promotion? She says, because no, that's the way it is. That's what they pay analysts at my level. And I said, but you're not any analyst, you're the one bringing 90% of the business. She says, yes, but that's what they pay, I can't talk about it. So do you see how she thinks that circumstances are fixed? And do you think that if a guy or a woman who feels assertive enough to do it would have gone and say, look, Pam, I bring 90% of the business to this place. If you want me to stay beyond my internship, I need to make X amount more because I'm the one that's leading the sales effort. What do you think Pam would have said? Most likely, yeah, sure, I give you the increase, I give you the raise. So when we tend to think that things are fixed, men tend to think they're just a starting point. There's just a suggestion. Right. It's like they have a completely different viewpoint on how fixed things are around them, and so they push. And they never take anything as a rule or as a, limitation. So I'm inviting you to do the same, to bring back that locus of control internally so that you feel that circumstances are never, ever as fixed as you think they are. You go to a shop and you think, oh, you know what, I'd love to get those pair of pants, but they're $120 and I'm not going to pay $120. I can only pay $80, and you're at Macy's or you're at, at a brand store and you think, I can't ask for a discount because they're not going to give me a discount. This is Macy's. Guess what? Ask for the discount. They'll say, oh, I have a special coupon under here for employees. I'll give you 25% discount. I do it every single day with everything. I go rent a car. Look, I don't have my code here for the discount, but don't you have a special discount for people who are special like me? And they'll say, sure, I'll give you 5%. I don't care, it's 5% more than I didn't have before, correct? Okay, try it. Try it with everything. I got a very bad situation. I came from Miami. I did a few events there. They put me at a beautiful boutique hotel that People magazine was paying for. And I had problems with the AC the 3 days. The third day, I asked them to move me at 11:30 at night to a different room because it was 100 degrees in my room. And I'm like, I'm dying here. So I come down, and they said, I said, you have to move me to a different room. Oh, we're booked. We're full solid. So I get dressed at 11:30, and I had already taken my melatonin to go to sleep. So I was drugged. So I come down, and I sit in the lobby, and I say, I'm going to sleep here tonight, unless you can get another room. And in 5 minutes, the guy found me another room, obviously. So then, they're promising they're going to take care of the rate, whatever, and they're going to have the sales manager call me, whatever. When the guy calls me, I said, yeah, it's great, you're going to give a discount to people who's paying for the room, but what are you going to do for me? I'm the one that suffered for 3 days in this room. Oh, we're going to give you a 1 night complimentary for blah, blah, blah. So he explained everything, I let him talk, and then I said, you know what, 1 night's not going to cut it. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to 1 night for your hotel, and then I'm going to move to another hotel. And he said, so please get me 2 or 3 nights. Okay, let me call you back. He calls me in 5 minutes. Okay, we're going to give you 2 nights, and then we're going to give you a discount, and then we're going to give you an upgrade, and he kept on just, right? So push back. Nothing is fixed as you think it is. And I gave you all those stories so that you remember. And perfectionism. That's the last one I touched on. We grow up with this predetermination that we need to be perfect little girls. Yes or no? Yes? No? How lucky. Yes? I know you're lying to me. Who said no? Very lucky. Very lucky of you guys. You have no idea. When you have to be perfect, you never do anything. You don't take risks, because unless you're going to be perfect at it, you don't take risks. And I gave an example this morning that happens all the time, which is, you have a company, they have a job offer, let's say it's going to be in Germany. You want to move to Germany, let's make it Germany. All right, so it's in Germany, and they say, we need a manager to open our stores, we're going to have to manage 100 employees in Germany, and we need a person to be there in 3 months and to start. Who wants to go? And the guy in the room immediately raises their hand. The girls in the room, the women in the room, they're checking their list not twice or 3 times, like 10 times. Okay, I don't speak German more than what I learned in high school. So I might be maybe like an intermediate German. And I manage people, but I've never managed 100. I managed 97 or 96 people. And, my passport, I think that, I might need to renew it because I only have 1 year on the passport. So while you're doing all that check, the guy already raised his hand. He went and got his passport that he had never had a passport before. He doesn't speak German, he never took German. He manages 10 people, and he's already there at the store, hiring for the new store. So what happened there? We're really trying to cross our T's and dot our I's so carefully, you're missing out the opportunities. You're not jumping on the opportunity quickly enough, and they're passing you by. So the recommendation is, be 50% ready and jump on it, and learn whatever you need to learn on the job. Find your mentors, find your sponsors, find your colleagues. You're great at Googling everything. Google what you don't know, and you'll be fine. All right, so we're going to get into a little exercise. I want to see how we're doing in time. So I want you to keep these thoughts. Predeterminations really affect our belief and our belief system and our behavior, because as we're saying, if you think you've got to be perfect before you take on an opportunity, then you don't take an opportunity, then you miss out, then you're going to grow much slower than you could. So do you see how your predeterminations and your thoughts and beliefs are impacting how you behave and the opportunities you're going to have in life? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. The advantage is that all of these predeterminations live in language. Yes, they're a belief system, but it lives in your language. So we invent everything in language. We are 24/7 immersed in language and we don't realize it. Like a fish in water. Do you think a fish knows that it lives in water? Most likely not. The moment you take it out, it dies. Or you eat it. So we live immersed in language in a way that you don't realize that in order to believe in God, you need to have language. Otherwise, how do you pray? Correct? Alright, so the same way then, if you are aware of that, you can use language to change reality. Because what we do in life is we invent everything. I invent a story that I need to be perfect. Somebody invented it for me, and they sold it to me, and I bought it, and now I want to be perfect, and then I don't take advantage of opportunities, right? But I can change that also in language. I can create a completely different declaration for myself, and that's what we're going to do right now. So language is not just descriptive. I don't use only language to say, we are at Schreiner University in the Women's Summit, we have 100 people sitting. That's the descriptive function of language. I'm using it to describe facts that are measurable by all of us. How often do you think we use language that way? Very often? Descriptive? Alright, not very often? Alright, I would say not very often. Because most of the time, we're making up stories. If I go from saying, we are at Schreiner University, which everybody can agree on, to say, we had a great meeting, I'm making up a story. Somebody else is going to come and say, oh, it was boring, like, all get up. If I say, it was, the presenter was knowledgeable, somebody else will say, oh, she didn't know what she was talking about. So, it's just, we can all make up a different story of what happened here tonight. And so we are using the creative function of language. We think we're talking about an event, and we're describing an event, and we're actually inventing it, creating it from scratch. So, this is where you are going to come in. What messages did you get growing up? That you were too what for a girl? And that girls should be seen and not heard, like you said before. What other messages like that? Or you saw things like men sat at the head of the table, or drove the cars, or managed the big financial decisions. What else did you see, heard, perceived, whether it's spoken or unspoken? There are messages that can be affecting you right now. Okay? So this is what I want you to share with me. Come on.
One thing that, growing up that I heard was, for myself, if I wanted to do something, I don't know, something crazy, on a motorcycle, I don't know, something, it would be like, oh, well, you can't do that, that's dangerous. But, my cousin, who's a guy, he can do that. Why? He's younger than me, because he's a guy. This morning, he can do it, because he's a guy, you can't, because you're a girl.
Good. Pass it on that way, and then you have your hand, and we pass it that way, and then we pass it back.
For me, it was going out on a Friday night or out anywhere with a boyfriend or something. I don't have an older brother or any brothers in my family, but my mom did. And she said her brother used to go out all the time. And she always had to stay, and so she did the same thing for me.
So she went out with you?
No. She wouldn't let me go out.
Oh, she wouldn't let you go out because you didn't
I was
have
a
a
girl.
chaperone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a girl.
All right. Pass it on to over here. And then you, and who else raise your hand? And then go over. Well, we'll do this row and then we'll jump to the back. Okay, go.
Well, in my family, there's a lot of, I'm almost to 5, and so there's 3 girls and 2 boys, and we're always told that the girls have to clean the inside of the house, and the boys have to work on the outside, so they have to do the lawn and things like that, but we do the dishes and we clean and we do everything like that, and so.
How many of you share that? All right, and how many of the boys got paid to do that work? In your situation, how many, your brothers or siblings got paid? And did you get paid to do the dishes? Any of you? All right, you did. Oh my God, we have some really fast-forward parents here. All right, let's move into her.
I've been told I'm too aggressive for a girl.
You're too aggressive for a girl? All right, so you should follow the campaign Bossy, No Bossy, right? The No Bossy campaign. All right, so pass it on.
So both of my parents work very hard, but especially my mother works very, very hard because she takes care of me and is a cook. But I noticed when I was really young, even now, when she's home and wants to relax, and my dad walks in, she gets up and starts cleaning. She feels like she can't relax, but my dad can, and I've always noticed that.
All right. Yes, we'll do her, and then we'll go back, and then I'll take it back.
I got told that I couldn't, that I couldn't leave the house until I was married, or ready to go out and do my own life. But I actually got to change that.
You have to change to escape for college.
Yes.
Good for you. All right. Here, we have one here.
I guess I had the opposite experience. My parents were pretty progressive. I saw my dad was the one that cooked dinner and he does the housework. My mom ate a lot more money than he did. And so I saw an even split of things, and then also they never pushed like their religious beliefs on me or their political views. They never told me theirs until I reached college. And
I think that's phenomenal. I'll give you the mic in a minute. I think that's great because, again, I don't want us to be badgering our parents. And it's not all about, oh, we're all told the same thing. I think that experience is phenomenal, but it doesn't mean you don't have determinations. Now you expect to have a partner who's like your dad, right? And you expect, and you want to be able to be as successful as your mom and for your partner to be able to take it. So it's going to be your job to educate your partner, right? Because we all know how many partners we're going to find like that. Go ahead.
Okay, so I come from a farming family, and this summer I helped out harvesting. I was on a combine all summer, but whenever we got food brought to the field, I got 3 older boy cousins working with me, and I was always supposed to eat last because women don't work as hard or they don't need as much to survive. That was
So you stated that the boys were allowed to eat what?
they were eating a lot of things in which they wanted.
And the girls were not?
Yeah.
All right, that's really sad. Okay.
So when I first started getting ready for college, my parents were saying, "Oh, you can't go out at night on your own." Like they were walking across campus at night on my own, and they said, "If you go anywhere, you take this flashlight with you." I can take it with me, but they're just super protective of that aspect, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm walking at night on my own all the time.
And you'll be safe.
Okay, so I want you to remember what you all said here today, because you're going to have kids one day, and you're most likely going to be as protective of your daughters as your parents were of you. So, and again, this is not about bashing your parents for how they try to protect you or what they keep you safe, but it's for you to understand that as much as you protect your daughters, you need to educate your sons in terms of how to respect the women in your lives and how to protect the women in your families, okay? So that it's done together and you're not educating one gender differently than the other.
Okay, I finished with the two of you.
So my father was not in my life growing up, so my mom was father and mother to me. And so I don't know how that's affected me because we're nothing alike. She's very independent, strong-minded, and assertive, and I'm kind of more go with the flow, kind of just do my own thing person. But yeah, that's kind of a different determination.
Okay, sure, pass it on to her.
So I'm the second youngest of 11 kids, and by the time I was old enough to go out, my mom was like, sure, whatever, just keep a quarter in your pocket just in case you need to call me. So my mom was always like, whatever, you go do whatever you want to do, but just make sure you're safe. So that's, I guess, my conclusion because I learned from my siblings' mistakes.
Good.
And so you see how we all have different experiences, right? So just keep in mind how these have affected you and will affect you going forward. And this is what I'm going to ask you to do now. So I want us to think about a basic linguistic act, which is called a declaration. And when our former fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, what happened? The founding fathers, rather. What happened? Huh? Yeah, well, we created a country. They created a country. Yeah, they might have gone through a lot of trouble, but they created a country. That country came out of a piece of paper and a few words. Did you ever think about that in those terms? It came out of a piece of paper, a group of people who said, this is it, we're going to be independent from England. And now we have a country with an armed forces and with certain boundaries and laws and obligations as citizens and all the things that the United States of America are, or any other country who actually started from an independence, right? And when you say I do, when two people say I do in front of a judge or a priest, what happens? They get married. So they create a legal entity that did not exist before those two words were spoken, correct? And when you have made a mistake and you say I'm sorry, what happens? You're forgiven, and the relationship gets restarted. You can start all over again with a clean slate. And when you accept a project, also, you're giving your word, and that has consequences. If you fulfill the project, then you'll probably be rewarded, you could be promoted. If you don't, you could get into trouble, right? Same when you turn in a paper in school, and you don't fulfill your accomplishments. So, what I want you to do today is to declare new messages for yourself. Because imagine that if you can create a country from a declaration, why wouldn't you be able to create a future for yourself with a new declaration? No matter what predeterminations you bring in, no matter where everybody in your life thought that you should be or what they think you should be, what even you at this point thought you were going to be able to accomplish. Right now, you can declare something different for yourself and create a completely new reality for yourself. So, what are some of those new declarations you can make? I'm giving you a few examples. I'm unafraid to do what, or to be what. I'm successful, or I'm a successful what. I achieve whatever I set out to do. I can change. I give myself permission to what? So, come on, throw out a few of your own declarations out there.
Yeah, I can tell that. Right? Say it in the mic so people can hear.
I'm unafraid to be sassy.
Okay, what else? What are you unafraid of?
Yell it.
I'm not afraid to stand for what is right.
Good, yes. Woo. All right, can you stand up and yell it so it's faster and we do like a popcorn kind of thing instead of getting the mic? Go.
Did you hear that? I'm not afraid to be disagreed with. Okay, back.
No, yeah, go ahead.
I'm not afraid to try.
I'm not afraid to try new things. You can make other declarations that are not only I'm not afraid. Yes.
I lost it.
You what?
I lost it. Okay, I have another one. I want to be a successful author.
Great. Speak to me later. What else? Come on. ¿Quién más? Get up. Speak. This is the opportunity. Yes?
I give myself permission to forgive myself.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yes, you're getting an applause. All right. What else?
I'm not afraid to be hated.
I'm not afraid to be hated. Okay?
I give myself permission to not be perfect.
I give myself permission not to be perfect, and that's a perfect one for all of us. All right, I love it, and keep on working on those. You don't need to have them all for today. So remember that choosing your path is really in your hands, and that you have much more control of your circumstances than you think. And I want you to think about this. Options are external things, so those are the options that are presented to you. But choice is something that we do. It's an action, it's a decision. And there's a difference. You might have very limited options, but you can always make a different decision. There's always more than one decision you can make. And I'm bringing you this example to kind of seal that idea. In the worst of circumstances where two people are given a terminal illness diagnosis and they're told you have 3 months to live, one person might sit in the corner and cry and get depressed and not ever get out of the house and really suffer and be in a lot more pain than she probably needs to, while the other one says, you know what, these are the 3 last months of my life, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to put up with as much pain as I can. I don't care. And become an inspiration for all of us. And in the last few years, we've had many examples of this. So you have the same option. It says, and I'm giving you this extreme because what is this option? You're going to die in 3 months. No option. It's very, very limited. However, you still have a different choice faced with this horrible option. Yes? So no matter what your circumstances, you still have different choices that you can make. So this is a time for you to really get out there and explore your passions, your interests, have different experiences in life. This is the time to do it. You need to really get out of your comfort zone and start building relationships, using everything you've got to discover where you want to go and to see where you're going to be great at. And that's it. What we're going to do now is, all right, yes, you can applause. All right, thank you. So now, Mark, you're the man of the hour. Do you have the bag with the names? Oh, they're here. All right, so I'm going to need a volunteer. So this is what we're going to do right now. Come over. You with my accent. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick 5 names out of this bag. And we're going to recognize 5 people for whatever they wanted to be recognized, so that all of you get a taste of what it means to be recognized with a standing ovation, because this is how we're going to do it. We're going to name the person. Do you know a lot of people here? All right, it doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to call your name, you're going to get up so that we know who you are. And then you're going to sit down. Everybody else is going to stand up and we're going to give them a very standing ovation, okay? We're going to do this 5 times. Get ready, leave your pocketbooks on the floor. All right, you go first. So, these awards for an exceptional occupational therapist who helps people know they can continue life no matter what has happened to them goes to Catherine Monroe. Where is it? Huh? Is Marvel? All right, so sit down. Let's give her a round. And give us your proper name and last name. Marvel. Norvell. Got it. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. This award for loving others and helping them love themselves goes to Kyla Lamartina. All right, sit down. Now we'll give her a round. All right. You're going to get tired. We need some exercise. You sassy person. All right. We have a Nobel Peace Prize that's going to Karen L. Who's Karen L? All right. We're doing this 2 more times. Go ahead. 5, you did 3. Okay, so this award for Best Patient Care goes to Brittany Arenibas. Where's Brittany? All right, Brittany. Let's keep And the last award of the evening. Shake it up a little bit. Maybe get a pink or a different color. There you go. All right, and this award for saving lives of children through nursing goes to Desiree Valencia. Which one's Desiree? All right. Sit down, Desiree. All right. So, now you know what it feels to be recognized. Do we all want to be recognized at some point? Yes? Okay, so let's work hard towards that, towards doing something valuable and relevant in our lives. So, this is my new baby, the Red Shoe Movement. I'm going to leave you with a few words of it before I'm going to bring our panel up and we can start the next part of the evening. So, a few years ago I published my 7th book, which is called Finding Your Inner Red Shoe. And it has to do with inviting women to define success in a different way. Just whatever works for them, instead of thinking of success as a destination, to think about success as a journey, whatever works for you. It was really interesting because in Spanish, the word for success is what? Éxito. And it has the same root as that word, exit. So it's very easy to think that in Spanish, as in English, success is a pathway, it's a door, it's whatever door works for you, whatever exit works for you. So instead of thinking, oh, the destination of having a doctorate degree and the car and the 2 children or whatever, I can think of what's going to make me happy, what's going to give me the most satisfaction, and I can go for it. So I wrote the book, and my goal was, I want to have a movement behind it. I want to have a company that develops women leadership, and also a movement, a social movement of women who support each other so that we can achieve that level of success together. And so that we can really move the needle on female representation at the highest levels, because it's moving very slowly. So we created this Red Shoe Tuesday campaign, which is every Tuesday, men, women, everybody goes with red shoes, red ties to work, to show our support for women career advancement. And by doing this, every Tuesday we keep up that conversation alive of what can women do to continue growing in their careers, and also what can organizations do to change their culture so they're more welcoming to women leaders who look different than men and have a different style. And of course, then, you know, the whole thing came from the icon we put, the symbol we put on the cover of the book, which was a pair of red stilettos. And that's where the Red Shoe Movement came about. So you can join Red Shoe Tuesday, take pictures, do fun stuff, come to school with red sneakers, hashtag Red Shoe Tuesday, hashtag Red Shoe Movement, so we can give you more visibility for what you're doing. And this is where you find me if you want to connect with me. Thank you very much. And it was all a strategy. So I'm going to invite our panel to come up, and I'll join you. I think I'll stay here, it'll be easier. I'll introduce you from here. What's that? My shoes?
I was admiring.
These shoes I'll model for you. They are my Lola Ramonas. So this is a Danish designer that's a partner, she's a partner of the Red Shoe Movement. So once you start joining us, you'll see that, for example, now we have our annual event in New York City, and we're giving away 30 pairs of boots and shoes for registration, early registration, and when people attend our webinars, we give away shoes and things like that. So go to lolaramona.com and you'll die because they're awesome. So we're getting started. I'm so happy that you guys are already here. And I'm going to stay here. We're going to do like an Oprah show tonight for you. And these amazing leaders that we have here joining us are going to be answering a few questions that I have, that mostly I'm hoping answer questions from you. So this is a warm-up for you to get out all of those questions that you want answered by top leaders. So I'm going to give you the short bio on each one of them, and I'm going to start from here, from Benita, in yellow, towards my left. Benita is the Senior Vice President and Relationship Manager with Kerrville Trust,
In this role, she manages the long-term personal financial needs of clients and their families. She has over 20 years of experience in the personal finance and investment fields and is a certified financial planner practitioner. Before joining Canal in 2004, she was employed with Wells Fargo Private Client Services. She received her undergraduate degree with honors from DePaul University and is currently pursuing a graduate degree in management with a focus on finance from Harvard Extension. And as a volunteer for the Houston Methodist Hospital's ALS Clinic, Benita provides pro bono financial planning guidance to individuals who have recently been diagnosed with ALS. So let's give her a round. Next is Ariel Leary. I think you have some fans here. With over 8 years of experience in higher education, Ariel Leary is currently serving as the Assistant Dean of Housing and Judicial Affairs at Schreiner University. And in this role, she oversees all residential facilities on campus and adjudicates campus judicial cases. In this role, Ariel is able to interface with a myriad of students, faculty, and staff. She has a passion for working with students, thank God, on a collegiate level, and thoroughly enjoys seeing students learn and grow. Give her a round. Isn't it great how they learn to do that? Really sounded. All right, so Wendy. So Wendy Gladner, is that how you pronounce it? All right. Is the Director of Human Resources Services at Schreiner University. In this role, she also holds the responsibility of one of the Title IX coordinators on campus. She graduated from Baylor University with a Bachelor's of Business Administration and Management and went on to complete a graduate program at Houston Baptist University, graduating with a Master's of Science in Human Resource Management. She also holds a certification as professional in human resources. Outside of her direct responsibilities as the Director of Human Resources, she's an acting professor here, and along with her profession for she balances, like we were talking before, family consisting of her husband of 23 years and 2 children. Give her a round. And Kyle Boynton, who you also know from campus, with over 30 years in brand building, Pam is currently using that experience to lead strategy development and marketing at the Federated Group as Chief Strategy Officer and teaching marketing classes here. Prior to Federated, Pam developed and led private brand programs for Acosta Sales and Marketing and Damon Worldwide for HED. The first half of her career was spent building national brands with Mrs. Smith's Bakeries and Tyson Foods. After her 10 years with Tyson, Pam led the advertising curriculum at the University of Arkansas for 5 years. In 2011, Pam was selected as a recipient of Progressive Grocer's Top Women in Grocery Award. Today, she's an active board member of WISE, Women Impacting Store Brands Excellence, and is the Strategic Long-Range Planning Chair of that organization. Let's give her a big round. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to get my corporate chair. I think that I'm Oprah, right? You can always dream. All right, so many people think that getting to a leadership position entails climbing the proverbial ladder. But I want you to look back in your careers and tell me how straight the line was it to your current position?
I'll go first.
All right.
Hello. I'll go first, which is a surprising thing. I would say that I've pretty much been on the same ladder all my career, on the human resources ladder. Believe it or not, I graduated from college 25 years ago. I know I look really young, but it's been 25 years. Anyway, I've pretty much been on the same ladder. There were times in my career where, one time in particular, where I jumped the ladder a couple rungs, like three rungs up. There were definitely times when I took a step down intentionally or completely jumped off the ladder. And those times were when I had my children, and then also when I decided to take an early retirement and stay home and raise my children for about 7.5 years. So I definitely started at the bottom rung, worked my way up, took some steps back, jumped off, got back on, started back up, pretty much on the same ladder the whole time.
Was that the experience for all the other three of you? Go ahead, Mariela. Share it.
Oh, no, just I don't have children, so that was already like, no, another path. I think my path is pretty straight. For me, in undergrad, I worked as an RA, so I was already kind of in this field, and I kind of found my passion early, so I realized this was something that I liked, and so I just kind of went through it. When I first got to college, I was kind of lost, trying to figure out where I wanted to go. So I did an internship with the Disney College program my second semester of college. And I think for me, that kind of solidified, like, I like college students, I like people. This is kind of the field that I want to go into. Just kind of always interfacing with different types of people. So I went back to college, kind of on this path. I stayed in res life, and I just kind of moved up from there. So I think I'm very fortunate at my age and where I am. So I think my path was pretty straight. I just got lucky in some of the positions that I got into.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my path was pretty straight too. I initially, in my younger days, worked retail, and I used the experience that I had working in retail to be able to really hone my communication skills and try to find my way. And as I progressed on trying to find my way and going through my educational process, I found a mentor who helped me solidify the direction that I wanted to go. And once I started on that direction, started out just as a stockbroker, worked my way up, and that's really one of the lower rungs that you can start on in the investment world. And then moved into private banking, where I would work with very high net worth people, and then up through a boutique environment. And now I am a part owner of the firm. And so starting out as, just very bottom rung and being able to work my way up.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree mostly with these other fun ladies. The only thing I will say that varied in my experience was when I started with Tyson Foods, which was an incredible experience. I thought I would be a part of that organization for years and years and decades, and was climbing the ladder. But then management changed, and leadership, my direct leadership changed, and it changed my the paradigm that I was in and belief system, frankly, that I had, and I started feeling very uncomfortable. So I could either stay in this environment and continue up the ladder, which was what was expected, or leave, and I left. And there have been a few times in my career where it's been probably much like Lindy described, where you just say, this isn't right for me, and you depart, and guess what? New and better opportunities come along.
Great. And do you believe that there are specific female characteristics that can give you an edge in the global society we're in?
I especially do. In my background, which is the consumer packaged goods background, where 80% or more of consumer goods are purchased by women. So, interestingly, the leadership of the organizations, consumer packaged goods organizations, are primarily men. So it's critical for women to be growing in those fields, because the way that we, or the sensitivity that we have, the ability to have intuitive expectations and receptors that we have with the consumers, etc., is very unique to women. Women tend to be more gray. They can flex, they can anticipate things that their children or their husband or their friends will say and do, whereas men tend to be more black and white, and that's difficult in the consumer packaged goods world if you don't have more females and diverse minorities in that organization.
Benita, what's your experience?
My experience in working,
Is it on? Yeah. So I talk to people about their hopes, their dreams, their fears, and it's all tied up with what happens with their money. Their money, their health, their family. Those are the most important things to people. And I find, from my standpoint on being a woman, that I'm very intuitive in talking to them. Possibly because I've been doing this for a long time, I can listen to someone and I know, I can sense the importance of what they're telling me, and I can also pretty much guess what they're not telling me and have the ability to flesh that out. Because it's really important for me to have a very thorough understanding before I start giving advice to someone. And I think that I probably think it's because I'm a woman that I'm able just to put them at ease and feeling very open and talking with me. So I think that's been a definite advantage.
It's your empathy.
Yeah, I think so too.
You want to say something?
Say you just stole my word.
Oh, right, go for it.
No, I was going to. Early in my career, you know, when I talked about jumping up the ladder a couple of rungs, I was recruited to come back and in an organization and lead an HR department. I was a senior director of human resources. It's about 32 years old. I just had my second child. It was a manufacturing firm that had 1,500 employees and 1,000 temporaries on site. So it's a big organization for me, who had never worked for someone like that. Shortly after I started working there, we went through a significant downturn, and we ended up having to have 14 reductions in force. I had never laid a person off in my life. We had to shut down 2 plants, and we had a senior management team that went through that process and made decisions together about how we reduce costs in the organization. And after we went through all of that, one of the things that the president said to us is that through that whole experience, what he learned was that the women actually handled the situation better than the men did, the stress associated with that. And for me, I attributed that to, as a woman, you do have multiple roles that you have in your life as a professional, as a wife, as a mother. And so for me, it was able, you know, from those different roles, I think helped me deal with that stress. And also, I think a trait that has helped me in my career is I'm very empathetic. I have the ability to put myself in someone else's shoes and really try to see it from their point of view, and how would I want to be treated, how would I want someone in my family to be treated. So I really try to look at it from that angle, and that has really helped me in my career.
How many of you ladies feel that you are empathetic? Okay, almost 100%. You don't feel you're empathetic? Some of you? All right, so turn around. So again, those of you who feel you're empathetic, raise your hands. Those of you who don't, turn around and see who's raising your hand. And make plans to get together to teach each other. Because this is a very valuable trait that most of you have naturally, and if you don't feel you have it, you haven't developed it yet, but you have it in you. And I remind you that this is the Oprah show, the Mariela version, and we want you to actually ask questions of these ladies. So I'm only helping you while you think, but I'm not going to be asking all the questions. So for that, I'm going to stand up to kind of see you when you raise your hands to tell me that you want to speak. Oh, all right.
To what do you owe your success?
I think I owe my success to my faith, because I am, you know, I'm very religious. I am not a Bible thumper, but I'm very religious. And I think for me, in this type of environment, work with college students, you see a lot of stuff. You see a lot of good and you see a lot of bad. So I think at the end of the day, sometimes I'm emotionally drained. I'm drained, like physically drained, emotionally drained, and so I need something to fall back on. And for me, that's my faith. I owe my success to know that in the end, I'm like, okay, if I didn't make the best decision, God's gonna protect me either way. And even like different jobs I've had or different situations that have come along, there have been times that I've questioned, like, why am I here? I hope there's a purpose of me being here, and the only way that I've gotten through is my faith.
I think for me, really hard work and preparing myself. I grew up very poor. I remember one day my mom told me, I have $30. That's all we have. That's it. And so when I grew up that way, I knew when I had something, I had to take care of it. And I knew that to get myself out of that situation, I had to work very, very hard. And I had to really polish myself to be able to make sure that when I had an opportunity, I took advantage of it. And when I couldn't find an opportunity, I went and found it. So I think that that's very key. Don't think for a minute that someone else is going to hold you down. You're going to hold yourself down. And you can't let that happen.
Has there ever been a point where you thought about giving up, like where you wanted to go and you weren't there, and like, has there ever been a moment in your life where you're just like, is it worth it? And like, what kept you going? Because you're here now, so you know, you made it.
Have you ever reached a time when you thought?
Whose mic is that?
Testing. Okay, so a point in my life where I really thought, is it worth it? I have to tell you, like, one of the real struggles for me is as a mother, you know, going back, you know, when I had my first child and actually going back to work, I really wanted to stay home with my baby. And then I got back to work, I went back to work, had my second child, and that's when I tried to retire, early retirement, and then got recruited back. So that was always a struggle for me at first, as a young mother. And even to this day, I still have a little bit of guilt that I carry with me, not being home with my children, but they're teenagers, they're independent, they do their own thing. There was a point in my career early on where I thought, is human resources really what I want to do? I had graduated, I had a degree from Baylor University, I had these expectations in my mind of what I was going to make as far as the salary. And I came out, and it took me a little bit of a time to get the entry-level position, and I was making $8 an hour. And I thought, okay, reality set in. So I stuck it out for a little while, started moving over, and I thought, well, maybe I'll be a teacher. I went and got certified to be a teacher. I wasn't going to tell you all this, but it's kind of funny. And then I had a dream one night that I was in the classroom and I was beating the children, and I decided maybe I shouldn't be a teacher. But I love kids, really. I love children, and one day I will teach preschool. But so, you know, there's been times like that where I thought, am I in the right position? And then stuck it out and moved on, and yeah. But there's been times, it's definitely hard with babies. That was my weakness.
I would say,
I'm going to echo that.
hello?
Yes, you're still here.
When I left Tyson, because of the conflict that I was having with my leadership, I went to teach at the University of Arkansas, primarily because I was able to get off the fast track at Tyson and spend more time with my children, very much like this. Well, I'd always had the guilt about not being there, traveling so much, but my children had adapted, we had a nanny, etc. So when I quit and went to teach, I had much more time, and my children were like, why are you here? I said, well, because I want to be with you. I want to be a part of your life. And they said, Mom, you're a great mom. You don't have to be home to be a great mom. And I went, okay, this is about me now. I want to create memories, and I want to be a part of your life, so get used to it. So that was probably the best time I ever spent, and probably the main reason I'm here at Schreiner now. So.
Guys, do you have another question? Yes. Wait.
Was there ever a time when you didn't feel like you didn't get an opportunity or didn't get the recognition that you needed because you were a woman? Like, I know that you guys have both mentioned, you know, that you spent so much time with your kids, and like you do have to feel that guilt whenever you're not there, but do you think you would have still felt that way if you were a man?
I have a really, really
quick answer on this. There was a time when I was leading a department and they were bringing in men from the outside who knew less than I did, who I was training, and they were making probably 25% more than I was. And I said, I did it for a while, thinking that was the locus exterior, whatever it was. That was just the way it was. And then finally, I started bucking the system, and then I was the one creating problems. So you can't, if something's bothering you, then there's a reason it's bothering you, and you have to pursue that out.
Is there ever a time where you were afraid of success because of what other people told you could or couldn't do?
That one I referred to when I got recruited to come back and jump that ladder. That scared me to death. I went from being part of a team to now leading a team of 17 people that used to be my peers. So that was really, I didn't know that I could do it. And if it wasn't for my husband encouraging me and supporting me and telling me that I could do that, I really had a lot of self-doubt. So that's one of the things I still continue to work on today is my, belief in myself and that I can do these things. And I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called You Are Badass. It's good.
I want to ask you, building on what Monica just asked,
What are some of the
They're very similar.
All right, whatever.
Here.
So I was building on what Monica just asked, and I was going to say, what tactics have you used along your career to here, this is not engage the people around you? Okay.
We'll read it for you.
Okay, so I wanted to ask her. It's me, that's the problem. How did you engage the men and the family members in your close environment to support your ambition? Because sometimes that fear of being successful for what others are going to think is that we think ambition is a bad word for women.
My husband at the time, just let that sit there for a minute, was happy that I was successful because of money. When I moved to teach, he was not very happy about that. So it really became kind of an internal motivation for myself. I'm going to do what I feel is right for me with my God-given direction, which I spent a lot of time in prayer on every career move I made. But I think that it's critically important that you know yourself, most importantly, and that you make it clear to your partners and to your work colleagues and to your leadership within your company as to what you want to do, why you want to do it, and why you think you could be successful doing it. So I think that those are three critical areas.
I'll go back to the original question. I think for me, where I am now, just kind of how I even stumbled into this position, friends that I graduated graduate school with, when I applied for the assistant position, they were kind of like, oh, Mariela, you were so early in your career, I don't think you're prepared for that. So like a lot of that self-doubt. And so once they doubted you, these are people that you went through, grad school with, so y'all had blood, sweat, tears together. So these are the ones that I thought in my life understood me the most. And so for them not to have faith that I could do something definitely took a toll on me emotionally. And I'm like, well, maybe I should do this. So it created so much self-doubt in myself. So I think a tactic that I did, I cut some of those people out because you have to realize that if you're not supporting my dream, then why else are you here? And it sounds really harsh, but it's the truth. So just saying, it's not, it sounds harsh, but it's really real. Because if if you have a goal, and there's somebody that was supposed to be in your circle, really great friend for you, then they should support you either way. And then if in the end it doesn't work out, then you would expect those people to be there to help you pick up the pieces and put it back together. So I think, and that was a tough lesson for me, because no one wants to lose friends, but it just happens that way sometimes. Not telling you to not make friends or lose friends, but it just happens. Oh, I like that.
I will say that I think that that's really key. You will have to have a support network to help lift you up. And I've been really lucky. My husband's very, very supportive. But I don't know how I would have made it if I had people that were actively trying to tear me down. So I think it's a really good point.
So, can I say? Sure. Okay. So, I'm very fortunate as well. I've been married 23 years to the same guy, and we've never had a fight. Just kidding. Today, because I haven't talked to him. But anyway, very supportive, but my father is somebody, whenever I'm stressed about something, if I'm telling him about work and something's stressing me, he'll say, just lean into the wind. You know, if you think about a storm, and it's raining, and the wind's blowing, and there's hail, not that you're in hell, but there's hail coming down on you, that, you just lean into that, and eventually you're going to weather that storm, and you're going to make it through. So that's something I always think about, just lean into the wind.
Great. And I have my mic off. That's why it doesn't work. I figures, right? All right, go for it.
Don't go for it.
Now can you go for it? What is one life motto that you have as you persevere through your career?
Life motto. What you live by?
I'm going to give you mine while you think yours. Mine is, it cannot be that difficult. And seriously, when you're trying to plug the computer into the thingy and it doesn't work and you're forcing it, or when you're trying to do anything you want and it doesn't really work, you have to step back and just say, it cannot be that difficult. And somehow things get really easy and you're able to plug it in the right hole and not in the wrong hole like you were doing, and it really works.
So I guess mine, was lean into the wind. That's one I think about. But early on in my career, I had a little phrase that I had printed out, and it was, taped to my monitor, and it had something to do with a racehorse that comes in first place is worth millions of dollars more than the other horses. So be willing to separate yourself from the others.
That's great.
So I think mine would be, I've got it, and it's no matter what comes up, to be able to know that I'm going to try this. I don't know if I can, for sure that I can do it, but I'm going to give it my best. And it's really allowed me to grow an awful lot.
Great. Pam, you want to share?
I actually turn it off.
Yeah, this is the fight of the microphones. The war.
Hello? Sorry, I need technical training. So I think the one thing is never be afraid. And that having courage, I think, is one of the major traits that allow women to be successful. The lack of fear of failure, if you will. My parents were amazing inspirations for me, and they loved me unconditionally, and I failed many times, and they were always there to pick me up and encourage me to keep going. So don't be afraid. That's the main thing I have.
Awesome. Fearless.
And I think I have two.
No, you can share two.
Faith is taking the first step even if you don't see the entire staircase. And I think for all of us, when we jumped into our careers, we didn't see everything. We were like, oh, I'm just stuck on faith in that. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. Whatever.
What's your second one? Oh.
Because I'm obsessed with Disney. I like dream it, do it Disney. Because like, it's something I can dream, it's something I can do. So I like that one too.
You can dream it. Well, that has to do with what we were talking about before. If you can make a declaration for yourself and you put it in writing and you start dreaming about it, then everything starts aligning. It's not magic. It's that then all of your actions and your intentions are aligned with what your internal motivation is and what your dream is, and things start working in your favor than, much better than when you don't have even a clue of what you want. And so whatever comes your way, you take it. More questions? This is your opportunity. Yes?
So I know we kind of already touched on the kids part of balancing that and stuff, but I'm a huge family person, and my mom and my dad were both worked into their jobs and everything. And my mom feels super guilty not being there for like all my sporting events and everything. So I want to know for y'all that have children, how did y'all balance the children and family life and work?
So I've been really fortunate. I think it's really important when you're starting out your career, that you love what you do, or at least you like it a lot, and that you find an organization, or wherever it is you're going, where they have a good work-life balance. That was something for me that's a make it or break it. If I'm not going to be able to come in late because I have a doctor's appointment for my children, or take off to go watch them play soccer, football, or whatever it may be, that's going to be a break it for me. So I think that's really important when you're interviewing, when you're talking to people, that you have an understanding of the culture of that organization.
I think fortunately organizations have progressed a lot in this area. When my children were young, which was 30 years ago, it was not that way. It was a very male-dominated industry. I was one of the very few women in the leadership or management role. So there was expectations that I just figured it out, and I hired a wife, which is now called a nanny. And she did everything. She did my grocery shopping. There wasn't anything that I didn't have her do. She cooked, she took the kids to soccer, she, went to the cleaners, etc. I was married to a gentleman who was much more traditional. His mother stayed at home. So we had expectations. Even though I had a tougher job, I made more money, and I traveled much more, it was still my job and my role. And I accepted that. And what my children have told me is that they saw the sacrifice. They knew that I made quality moments in their lives. And then when I quit my job and was teaching and was able to spend more time with them, it almost crowded them out. I mean, they couldn't even believe that I was around so much. So after 5 years of that, I went back into the industry and gave them a little room. But I think understanding your role and accepting it and figuring it out on how you're going to do it. But as Wendy said, now, make sure the company understands work-life balance. And it's much better now than it was way back then.
And I want to say that even though there are a lot more organizations with work-life balance programs, don't get deceived by the word balance. Balance doesn't exist. So what they're describing here is not balance, is you're trading things off at different times of your life. And this is part of figuring out what's important to you. What does success look like for you? Not for somebody else, but for you. Does it look like having children and working at the same time? Does it look like you want to develop one part of your life first? It is a trade-off. You're never going to be able to balance. Balance doesn't really exist. It's a myth. And we bought into that myth, and we need to buy out of it, okay? So maybe integration is a better word, where we integrate the different parts of our lives that you do. You integrate your education with your social life, with maybe some of your working, and you're integrating the best you can. But are you balanced? Most likely not. Okay, so don't get hung up by that balance thing, because it can really get scary, and it adds to the stress. It doesn't really do us any favors. Okay, I'm going to ask a couple more questions. One of them is, if you could go back in time to your high school years, when you were graduating from high school, what would you do differently in terms of your education path, your career path, the family decisions you made, anything that you would do differently?
Okay, so I wouldn't do anything differently because I wouldn't be here today. Probably, I really thought about this. Truly, maybe the only thing I would do differently is I would have applied myself more in my undergraduate degree. because I had a lot of fun in college. So I still did well. But hindsight, I know I could have done better. I had a lot of fun, I had a lot of friends, believe me. But that's probably the only thing I would change differently looking back. Going forward though, there's something that I plan, eventually I think I would look more into the side of employment law. So once my children graduate from high school and go on to college, I'll start heading down that path. I'm always looking to further my education and to learn.
Great. What about?
I don't think I would have done anything different, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I learned a lot from the mistakes that I made. And so just because you make some mistakes doesn't mean it's game over. It means learn something, pick yourself back up, and move on. So I'm happy with the choices I made.
And I'm not really asking you to question the choices, but more think about the lines of, well, I wish I had known how important it was to network when I was studying early on, because I just focused on my books and didn't make any relationships with professors who could have been great relationships after I graduated. So things that you, in hindsight, see that could have helped you move into your career.
So I would definitely encourage that here at Schreiner. These are small classrooms. Get to learn and know your professors. They're really not mean people. They're nice.
Most of them are nice.
Yeah, most of them are nice and human beings. But truly, you're in a unique situation. I was fortunate to have small classes, 20, 30 people. It's wonderful. So get to know your professors, ask questions, network.
All right.
I would probably say networking too. I think if I now look at my undergraduate career, probably taking risks. Because when I was in college, I was like, no, I gotta get through this. Because I was ambitious and I knew what I wanted to do. So I think I cut out all these sororities and all these extra clubs. Those extra things I didn't do because I knew what I wanted to do. And even networking, because we would have leadership summits on campus. We would have speakers come. I just didn't go to them. I don't know if I was too cool or what it was, but you didn't go to them. So now we look back. So when we're going through our career, it is much harder because we didn't make those connections then. And then you have other people and you're like, oh yeah, I did meet that person like 5 years ago. But why didn't you talk to them then? So when we take it and talk to people, make those connections, we really mean it. Because once you move on, you look back and you have missed so many opportunities with really great people because you didn't take that opportunity to get to know them. So I would say take risks and network more.
I have two things. One is don't burn bridges, because you can't imagine how many times those folks come back around and you're going to regret the fact that you burned a bridge. And the other one is to be curious. The curious mind is the one who continuously grows, searches, seeks, and more opportunities present themselves to a curious mind.
Anything else you'd like for the students to take home, to take away after this amazing conversation with you? I'm gonna take a couple of questions from them.
Okay.
You're still gonna have a couple of questions, correct? Correct? A resounding yes. All right. Okay.
So can I give them my tactics?
So I want you to give me the 2 things you want them to walk away with.
Okay. So I'm gonna build on what she said about don't burn bridges, unless you really want to intentionally burn them. Okay? But really, torch them. But don't burn them, because it truly is a small world. I can't tell you how many times, I'll bump into somebody and they know this person and they're related to this person, and it truly is a small world, and especially in Kerrville, Texas. Okay, so that's one thing. Let's see. To your point earlier about getting your education, I would encourage you to get your degrees, further your knowledge, get whatever certifications in your field, because that's something that someone can never take away from you. You will always have that. And then lastly, sometimes things just don't make sense to you at the time, And then looking back, it all makes sense. You know, it might not make sense at the time when you're going through it, but for me, looking back, it was just a path that I was on. It makes sense.
All right, Renita, do you have anything else? Anything else that you want to add to what you just said in terms of takeaways?
I was really touched earlier when one of the students said that they worried that race would hold them back. And that it really touched my heart because I really believe that we're in a situation now where that doesn't have to happen. And I hope that you'll keep it in your head that it's not going to happen. And I think that if you keep that in your head, it won't happen.
Great. Let's talk to that before she goes on.
If it does happen, you're in the wrong spot. That they're not worthy of you being there, and you need to move on.
Awesome. Mariela.
I would say be confident in who you are and what you do, and like just thinking like whatever you choose to be in life with your career, be proud of it. And I think for me that's always something very personal because I have a brother who plays football. So when people say, and I'm 28, so I'm a director of housing. I'm pretty proud of what I do. But when you talk to people like, oh, but he plays football, so kind of like minimalizing what I do. So just have confidence in what you do, whatever career path you choose. If you're proud of it, then live your life and do what you need to do, and just kind of always build a kind of confidence. Because there are going to be people that are always going to compare what you do to somebody else. But it's not a race, and like you're not comparing yourself to other people. You are doing your own thing, you're in your own lane. So just kind of focus on that.
Awesome. All right, so I need 2 more questions for closing. So who is it going to be? Sassy girl here. So you branded yourself, did you notice? Okay. Just make sure that's the brand you want.
Can you hear me? Yes. How much sass is too much sass?
And that is a good question.
There's nothing to always respectful. It's my thing. If you're not being disrespectful to somebody, I think sad adds a little excitement to all of our lives. So, just be nice.
All right. Okay, tic-tac-toe. We're taking those 2, okay? So you go first and you go last. All right, is that okay?
How do you feel about people who go after more liberal arts degrees and stuff that isn't as solid? Like psychology, or I want to be an author, or acting.
I think that that's an amazing place to be. I studied business my entire career, so I had a marketing degree, and then I got my MBA with a marketing and finance background, and all I knew was that, but I didn't understand people, and I didn't understand behavior, and the sciences, and the history, and the psychology, and I wish that I had. So when I was teaching and advising students, I really encouraged that cross education very, very much. There's many more opportunities for liberal arts majors now. Maybe that you have to work a little harder to get an internship, or you may have to go to graduate school, but don't discount it at all. It's a fabulous, fabulous program.
My undergrad degree is in psychology. So, and then what I do today, if I didn't have that background, I don't think I would be as successful. Because when you work with students, working with y'all isn't a black and white thing. You have to be able to see the emotions inside of it, especially when you're doing like judicial cases. I can never go in there like with my mindset on what it's going to be, and I'm not going to listen to them. You just can't. So I think having my psychology background and being able to understand people helps me every single day.
So, mine's really not a serious question. No. So this has been a really intuitive and it has been a really deep conversation. But my question for y'all is, if you had one song to describe your life, what would it be? Ariel, no Justin Bieber.
It's a good note to finish a very serious conversation. They might have to think for a second.
I don't know. know much music. That's my problem. See, I'm just so business oriented, I really missed out on everything. Okay, so I listen to a lot of music. I listen to everything from like some ridiculous rap music all the way through Italian opera. And that's because I get bored kind of easy unless I'm stimulated. But I was listening to some things I had on my iPod the other day, and I had some old albums on there. And one of them was the Electric Light Orchestra. Anybody ever heard of them? Okay, and there's a song in there that's called I'm Stepping Out. Stepping out, I'm moving out, I'm gonna see the world. I'm gonna make a change. And so for me, that was really meaningful because I look back and that was about the time I was in high school. And I can see myself as an 18, 19-year-old kid listening to that music, and now I look back some 30 years later, and that's what I did.
Well, since you mentioned One Direction, I'm going to use that one. And honestly, One Direction had the song, it's something about you being beautiful, that's what makes you beautiful. Yeah, that's what makes you beautiful. And then there's a line that says, if you can only see what I can see. So it's kind of like we don't see ourselves the way other people see, like all the confidence of what makes you you. So I think that's what makes you beautiful. It's just saying like all the qualities, all the great things about you, that's what makes you you. So that's it.
I have no clue. There's two songs that come in my head. One of them is I'm a bee, that one. Okay, and then the other one is the happy song. Clap along. I can't sing.
Yeah, I would say the happy song.
I'm trying to find the author of mine because I never remember her last name. But it's the Let the River Run, the music of Working Girl. You should listen to that song. I can't even sing it because I'll start crying, and I've seen this movie, I don't know, 20 years ago. But it's about let the river run, let the dreamers take the nation. So, I just can't. So, listen to it and think of me. So, what I'd like now to do is to give a standing ovation to this wonderful panel. This was wonderful. So, I want to thank everybody, Candace and Matt, whose baby this is. Let's bring Matt here. Let's bring Candace up here. And give them a round of applause for making this amazing summit possible. Let's give them a standing ovation. Come on. This is what leadership looks like when they decide to put their heads into something. They do it, okay? They get you excited about it. So I want to thank all of you for having me here. I want to thank you guys. You're phenomenal. Come down, please, and let's give her another round. And I hope everybody gets up here early tomorrow because these ladies are going home to prepare for tomorrow, okay? So we need a packed house. And you have my information up there. Get in touch with me. Mariela at Movement-Mariela.com. Join us. Talk to me anything you need. I'm there for you. It was a pleasure being here with you today. Okay? Thank you.
So I want to also thank you guys for being here tonight for the first part of our summit. This has been amazing, and it doesn't happen without you all to make it what it is to be. So tomorrow we start at noon with lunch back in the ballrooms. Right? Our first speaker tomorrow is Amy Myers, and she is speaking on the topic of the correlation between leadership and success. Then our lovely panel all have breakout sessions. So I would also say that if you have friends that weren't able to make it tonight, you can encourage them to come out tomorrow. That is I hear you. That is fine. Encourage them to come out, please. It's a relatively short day for us. We'll do noon to 3:30, and then I would encourage you guys to come support our athletics. We're going to be playing soccer tomorrow as well. So we'll see you tomorrow. Get some rest. Thank you again.